Have you ever noticed that some of the kindest people you've met are also the most exhausted? The ones who always show up, always smile, and always say it's okay whenever someone needs something from them. Pause once. But if you look closely, if you stop for just a moment, you'll see it. The quiet fatigue behind their eyes, a kind of tiredness that doesn't come from work or life itself, but from always having to be the strong one, the gentle one, the right one in every room they enter. You can feel it, the heaviness hidden behind a soft voice, the emptiness that lingers even when they're smiling. They make others feel safe, but inside, they're still learning how to hold together their own cracks. And if you listen long enough, you'll realize that their kindness isn't just who they are. It's a language they've learned to survive. We often imagine kindness as something pure and simple. We teach children to be nice. We praise the gentle. We tell ourselves that kindness can save the world. But in this complex world, every light casts a shadow. And when you ignore that shadow, when you pretend it doesn't exist, kindness itself can become the very thing that wears you down. It doesn't happen all at once. It begins quietly. A child notices that being sweet, agreeable, and easy to love earns them affection. They learn to set aside their own needs in exchange for a smile, a compliment, a sense of belonging. Over time, that lesson seeps deep into their subconscious, that to be loved, they must make others comfortable. And so, as they grow, kindness becomes the mask that allows them to exist. Their kindness makes the world feel safe, but sometimes it's the same kindness that slowly erases them. Some people are always kind, always gentle, who know how to listen, how to smile at the right time, how to say the words that make others feel at ease. They're the ones everyone loves, trusts, and turns to when they need a safe place. But few ever notice that these very people are often the most tired of all. Because their kindness doesn't only come from sincerity, it also comes from a quiet, deep fear, the fear of disappointing others, of being abandoned, of no longer being loved if they stop being gentle. They've learned to always be okay, even when storms rage inside them. They say, it's fine, even when everything is falling apart. They don't want anyone to worry, be sad, or feel burdened by them. So they stay silent, they smile, they hide their cracks behind calm words and the tender gestures. They don't realize that sometimes this endless kindness is slowly erasing them. Society praises them, calls them good people, but few ever ask if they're happy. Few ever look into their eyes after those quiet nods, eyes carrying sleepless nights and the weight of swallowed sighs meant to keep the world around them peaceful. They're kind not because they always want to be, but because they're afraid that if they aren't, someone will leave. For them, kindness has become the only way to be loved. They don't say no, afraid it might hurt someone. They don't refuse, afraid it might break the fragile connection they've worked so hard to keep. They don't show anger, afraid their real emotions will shatter the gentle image others adore. And so, they live for everyone else until they forget who they are. But in the quietest moments, when there's no one left to please and no one left to protect, they can feel the emptiness spreading through their chest. It's heavy, strange, and unfamiliar, like standing in a familiar room and realizing you no longer recognize yourself. They don't want to become bitter. They don't want to stop being kind, but a part of them is exhausted, not from giving too much, but from going too long without receiving anything in return. A genuine glance, a question asked with no expectation. And so, to keep the peace, they smile again, a soft, warm smile, but one without a soul, because sometimes kindness is no longer an act of love, but a habit of survival. When kindness no longer comes from freedom, but from fear, it slowly turns into a means of survival. You're no longer kind because you want to be, but because if you're not, you fear being seen as selfish, being left behind, being forgotten. Your mind begins to link kindness with your worth. Every time you make someone happy, you feel meaningful. Every time you disappoint someone, you feel smaller. And so, you live between two fragile conditions: to be loved or to disappear. Those who are kind to the point of exhaustion rarely realize that they're paying the price of keeping the world around them peaceful by sacrificing their own inner balance. They're so attuned to the pain of others that they can no longer recognize their own. They always know when someone else is hurting, yet they can't tell when they themselves are breaking down. When you constantly put others' emotions before your own, you slowly lose the ability to hear your inner voice. And when that goes on for too long, kindness stops being light. It becomes a weight. Psychology calls this compassion fatigue, emotional exhaustion born from empathy. It doesn't strike suddenly. It seeps in quietly, like water wearing away stone. You give a little, then a little more, and then even more, until one day you realize there's nothing left to give. You still smile, but it's no longer real. You still say, "It's okay," but inside, everything is drained. You no longer know whether your kindness is a choice or a reflex. And then you begin to wonder, if I stop being kind, will anyone stay? That question scares you. It keeps you smiling, listening, enduring, even though deep down you know you're fading. You become someone everyone needs, yet no one truly sees. The kinder you are, the more invisible you become, as if your kindness is slowly erasing you. No one ever taught you that kindness needs boundaries, that you can be gentle and still firm, caring and still whole. You thought saying no was cruel, but sometimes no is the kindest word you can give to both yourself and others. Because kindness without limits isn't kindness anymore. It's self-erasure. The more you try to be kind, the more the world seems to ask it of you. You help once, and people come back again. You listen to one story, and soon there are 10 more. Everyone believes you're always available, that you never get tired, that you were born to be gentle. And slowly, you become the person everyone leans on, but no one thinks about. You've given for so long that you've forgotten how to receive. You don't know how to say no, because you fear that even one refusal will make people see you differently. You've taught others that you're always fine, that they can place any burden on your shoulders, and so they believe it. They begin to treat your kindness as a given, like the steady glow of a lamp that never goes out. But even a lamp burns itself away in the process of giving light. There are nights when you lie still, drained, without knowing why. Nothing happened. You just feel empty. You've spent so much of your life caring for others that when there's no one left to care for, you don't know what to do with yourself. You feel guilty for resting, ashamed for putting yourself first. And when someone asks, "Are you okay?" you still smile and say you're fine, because you've played the strong one for so long that you've forgotten you also deserve to be saved. The kinder you are, the more invisible you become. The softer you are, the fainter you feel. When people laugh, they remember the joy you bring. But when you cry, no one notices, because you've taught the world that your tears don't matter. You think you're loving, but in truth, you're just trying to survive, keeping everything peaceful, even when you're falling apart inside. And then you start to fear your own kindness. You're afraid that if you keep giving, there will be nothing left of you. But if you stop, you no longer know who you are. You're caught between wanting to be loved and fearing being seen too clearly, between wanting to help and just wanting to rest, between being a good person and simply being human. You're not lonely because no one's there. You're lonely because no one truly knows how long you've been holding yourself together just to be called good. And in the silence, you realize that your kindness has become a way of disappearing, polite, warm, but hollow. But perhaps real kindness was never meant to make you feel so tired. Because if you must sacrifice your peace just to keep a gentle image, then it's no longer kindness. It's fear, wrapped in a smile. You've spent so long trying to please others that you've forgotten you, too, deserve to be treated with gentleness. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is to be honest with yourself. Not everyone you love needs to be saved by you, and not every silence is an act of sacrifice. Some things you do out of love, but others you do simply because you're afraid to lose that love. When you begin to see this, you start to let go. Not because you've lost your kindness, but because you're learning to give without disappearing. We're often taught that kindness means giving everything we have, but true kindness knows when to stop. Like the rule on an airplane, you must secure your own oxygen mask before helping someone else. If you don't know how to breathe for yourself, even the warmth you offer will slowly fade. Setting boundaries doesn't make you love less. It makes your love real. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It allows you to love others from a place of honesty. When you say, "That's enough," you're not hurting anyone. You're protecting the best parts of yourself from being emptied. And maybe that's what kind people often forget. Kindness is not an obligation. It's a choice. It's not a role to perform, but a breath to be nurtured. You don't have to be gentle all the time. You don't have to smile every time someone asks something of you, because sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to be truthful, to say, "I'm tired today." When you allow yourself to be fragile, you open a new space where kindness can become pure again. When you stop trying to be strong all the time, you begin to breathe in your own natural rhythm. And when your heart stops resisting, everything within you finally begins to soften. You don't have to save the whole world to prove you're worthy of love. You don't have to be kind all the time to be accepted. You've done enough. You've loved enough. You've given enough. Now it's time to come back to yourself, not through promises or plans, but through presence. Take a deep breath. Feel the air move through your chest, gently. Even this breath is proof that you're still here, still given another chance to live for yourself. No one is born to be strong all the time. No one can be endlessly gentle without getting tired. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to say, "I'm not okay today." Weakness isn't a failure. It's the most human part of you. Only when you allow yourself to be real can you truly love others. Healing doesn't come from forgiving everyone. It comes from forgiving yourself, for enduring too much, for smiling when you should have cried, for forgetting that you also deserve care. Start small. A glass of water, a song, a slow morning, a moment sitting still, doing nothing at all. The world will keep moving, even if you pause to breathe, and maybe, for the first time in a long while, you'll realize silence isn't as frightening as you thought. You don't need to be better to be loved. You just need to be more honest. Because kindness isn't perfection, it's presence. When you're gentle with yourself, you won't have to force yourself to be gentle with others. When you learn to place your hand over your heart and whisper, "It's okay," your heart will know how to soften again. Sitting quietly in the morning light, watching dust drift through the air, you'll see that the world remains tender even if you're not yet happy. You'll feel peace, not because everything's right, but because you no longer have to strain to make anyone else happy. And perhaps that's what true kindness really is. When you no longer need to prove, no longer need to give until you're empty, yet still feel full within. One day, you'll realize that kindness was never something you lost. You simply used it as armor for too long. You'll understand that kindness doesn't need to be loud, doesn't need to save anyone, doesn't need to be proven. It only needs to be real, small, quiet, just enough for you to be gentle with yourself on the days you're tired, and honest enough to say, "Today, I have nothing left to give." You'll learn to take off the mask, the one you've worn for years, just to be called a good person. At first, it will feel empty, as if there's nothing left to lean on. But soon, you'll start to breathe again. softly, slowly, truly, and you'll see that beneath the mask, you are still there, not perfect, not always gentle, but real and alive. You may still help others, still listen, still care, but now your kindness won't come from fear. It will come from fullness. You no longer need to be loved to exist. You exist first, and then you learn how to love. When you learn to love yourself, your kindness stops being a mask and becomes a mirror, reflecting truth, reflecting light. And one afternoon, when sunlight falls across your face, you'll understand that kindness was never weakness. It only becomes weak when it has to pretend. When it's allowed to be real, kindness becomes the quietest form of strength a person can carry. No proof needed, no noise required, just truth. Because in the end, kindness was never a mask. It was always a mirror showing you the softness you thought you had lost.